All right, my speech is over Abraham Lincoln, so we'll get into it. Abraham Lincoln is one of the most well known U.S. presidents. He accomplished many things throughout his life, but when most people think of Lincoln, they tend to remember two key aspects: the ending of slavery and his assassination. However, Lincoln's life and legacy extend far beyond these two events. Born in the 1830s, Lincoln grew up in Springfield, Illinois, after his family moved there from Indiana. Lincoln did not attend much formal schooling, and he once recalled that the aggregate of his schooling did not amount to over 1 year. As a result, he was largely self taught and studied independently in his youth. Many people consider Lincoln to be lazy because he was always reading, writing, and scribbling poetry. However, over time, people began to recognize that his activities were actually forms of hard work, particularly mental labor. Lincoln's career trajectory was anything but smooth. He started as a store clerk, then became a postmaker, followed by a surveyor, a legislator, and ultimately a lawyer. When President Lincoln was elected into office, tensions began between the North and South were extremely high. During Lincoln's first inaugural address, he shared his desire to bond together, stating, "I am loath to close. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained it, must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretched from every battlefield and patriot, graved to every living heart and hearthstone, all over the broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union, when again touched, as surely they will be by the better angels of our nature." The American Civil War broke out at Fort Sumter. The war consumed Lincoln's administration, but he excelled as a wartime leader, directing the Union's resources and energies toward the war effort. His leadership was characterized by a combination of statecraft and military strategy, with some calling it military genius. Although the Emancipation Proclamation did not immediately free the slaves in the Confederate States, since the U.S. government did not have control, it allowed the recruitment of black soldiers into the Union Army. France and Britain wanted to work with the Confederacy for importing cotton into their countries and in return provide military aid to the South. However, the Emancipation Proclamation did not allow this, since Britain and France had both already outlawed slavery. After the South's unofficial surrender, Lincoln and his son Tad, accompanied by a troop of soldiers, visited Richmond just 2 days after the Confederacy had evacuated. They toured the city, walking from the wharf to the Virginia State House and Confederate White House. Then, on April 11th, a large crowd had gathered to see Robert E. Lee's official surrender. Lincoln prepared an address encouraging a righteous and speedy peace, whose joyous expression can be restrained. At that speech, John Wilkes Booth was in attendance. During the final year of the war, Booth had been trying to figure out a way he could kidnap Lincoln. However, none of those plans took action. Instead, he gathered a group of others that felt the same as he felt about Lincoln, and they made a plan to assassinate the president. On April 14th, Lincoln had multiple political meetings that morning and planned to attend the theater that night. While attending the play at Ford's Theater, Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth. He was taken across the street to a house where he died early the next morning, with Senator Charles Sumner by his side. Abraham Lincoln's rise to fame was far from normal compared to other presidents. In his youth, many people doubted his potential. However, through relentless hard work, Lincoln became one of America's most iconic figures.